Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echolake Technologies, echolaketech.com. In this video, I'm going to continue on from an earlier video on using checkboxes for filtering in repeating groups. And so as you can see here, I've got some checkboxes here for order status, and then another filter for colors. And I've also included a drop down as well as this slider or toggle button here. And I've got two different scenarios here. One in which you choose one of each item, so choosing an order status, color, form, and then this toggle paid or not paid. And then I also have the option of choosing any of the combinations. So let me just kind of quickly run through a demo here before we get to the design. Oh, I also have custom state values. So I'm using custom states to keep track of all of the different filters used in this. So let's choose order status 1, and when I've got choose one of each and I've got order status 1, I can't choose any of these other filters. So filter by color. So right now you can see order status 1, order status 1, order status 1, and now I'm going to go and choose red, and so now red is on here. So now it's filtered to only order status 1 with red. And again, I can't choose green. Filter by form. So if I pick square, it's going to show. Now if I choose circle, it's no longer going to be there. So square, and then paid or not paid. So it's set for paid. So this is the default value. So paid is still going to show up. If I click not paid, okay, then it's going to disappear. Paid, not paid. Now the toggle switch acts a little funky with the filtering, but I wanted to include it in this demo so you could see. Now I have to have this clear the toggle like that, so now it doesn't show up. Let me just quickly run through. So paid, not paid, and then if I clear it, it removes it. So that's how you do choose one of each. Now if I choose any combination, so what it's going to do, let me just kind of clear some of these out. Okay, that's all set. So order status 1, order status 1, order status up. I've got a defect on this one here in my database, but now I can choose order status 2. So now order status 2, and then order status 3 shows up. Now you're seeing some of these other ones because it doesn't matter if these other filters are on. It's going to look for all the order status 1. Let me just deselect these here. So I've got red and red. Now if I go choose green, it's going to have both the reds and the greens regardless of the other filters. So this is basically another way that you can go and open up your search criteria or your filtering criteria by choosing any combination, and then choose one. It will only allow you to choose one of each in these filters. Okay, so let's get into the design on how this is set up. The first thing I'm going to do here is go through the database, and I have orders. I just created orders as a data type, and within orders I've got these different filters, color as text as being one of them. Filters, so basically what I need to do here is for each one of the orders, whatever any of these filters are, I need to add those two filters as a list of text, and it needs to be a list because I'm going to have multiple values in filters. And I'll get to that when I get to, I'll show you that in details when I get to app data. And then I have form as a type of text, order name, text, order status, text, and then payment status as text. All these are just simple text fields. And just to go over here for a moment, I've got this set up for orders. I manually created these fields here, and in your app, when you go and you create your orders or the equivalent of orders, you'll want to make sure that when you go through, let me just click on one of these. When you go through and you fill out the color, the form, order name, order status, all of that. So the filters you want to go in here and add. And from a manual perspective, to manually create this, I'm just going to type in test, and then you do add, and then it shows up in the database like that. I'm going to remove it because it's not a legit filter. So that's basically what the data, the actual data for this looks like. Now let's go over to the design. And let's start over here. So I've got choose one of each as a simple drop down. So again, drop downs are, where are my drop downs? Here we go, drop down right here. So you just go and drop that down on there and get rid of that. So static choices, and I only have choose one of each or choose any combination. And this is, I'm just doing this for demo purposes. In your app, you may not have both options. You may just choose one or the other, in which case you don't need the drop down. It's really up to your app. And then as a default value, I have it just choose one of each, in that the input should not be empty. Again, in your app, you may not need this at all. You may want to have it always just, you have to have choose one of these in one of the colors, one of the forms, and so forth, so you wouldn't even need this drop down. Okay, let's move on to the order status. I've got these checkboxes here. And the checkboxes, it's basically under input forms, checkbox. Just drop that down on there. And so basically I've got order status 1, 2, 3, and 4. Their preset values are unchecked. It's just a standard checkbox. And then moving on for color, it's pretty much the same setup, red and green. And then filter by form. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different and not just have checkboxes, but to also use a drop-down. So you can see what that looks like. And I just have these two values, square and circle. No default value for those. I also have it set up so that this input should not be empty. I don't force the user to go and choose a value for this form filter. And then moving over here to the toggle. So toggle is, where is toggle? Right there, ionic toggle, like that. And let me just get rid of it because I don't need it. And I've got the default value as unchecked for this. Now I want to go through, because I have these conditionals set up, and these are important. Okay, so basically for the conditionals, what this does is when I have choose one of each, I want to prevent the user from clicking any of these other ones. So I have to have this conditional in here. So basically when, so if I want to choose order status 1, so check status 2 to see if it's checked, 3 if it's checked, 4 if it's checked, and that the drop down is also choose one of each. So this will prevent order status 1 from being checked. Similarly, I check the status or the state of the other 3 checkboxes, and if any of them are checked and choose one of each is also chosen, then I disable this from being checked, so the user can't check order status 2. Similarly for 3, you can see the values here are changing. And let me just kind of show you quickly how I did this. So define another option. So checkbox order status 1 is checked. And then you see this little more here. So you click on that and you get or. And then checkbox 2 is checked. You get another one. And then for this one, so I have the and, pick the and then value is, and then I have to manually type in choose one of each. Now make sure you get the spelling in the case. It is case sensitive, and spelling it has to be identical to the value right here. If it's not, then it won't work. Now where did I put that? Is it on status 3? So that's how you go and you add the conditional. So that's important to add this conditional so that when the user selects choose one of each, then and they want to choose order status 3, then none of the other order statuses are available for choosing. Now let's move on to red. And then similarly here, If checkbox green is checked and the drop-down is choose one of each, then this input, this checkbox is disabled. Similarly here, if red is chosen and the drop-down is one of each, then disable this checkbox. Now, for the drop-down, I don't need it because I can only choose one value. And then similarly for the toggle, I can only choose one value as well. It's only paid or not paid. And for this one, it's either, what were my values, square or circle. So I don't need to have a conditional for these two fields. I also want to mention here, so I've got this reset toggle. I just put simple when it's hovered, change the color, and then the default value of black for that. And I simply have a text here, click here to clear payment status filter. Again, the reason being is that when you choose paid or not paid, that value is going to go into the custom state. To remove that value out of the custom state, then I need to click this to reset that value. And I'll walk through that in a moment as I get to the workflows. Let me just come over to the repeating group here. So in the repeating group, I've got type of content is orders. So that's from my data, orders. And then search for orders. I don't have any filtering going on. There's no constraints going on for this. In your app, you may have some by user or whatever it may be. So the filtered part is really the critical part of this, the way this repeating group works. And what you want to do is you go into advanced. So let me just do, I'm going to do a copy with workflows and just kind of quickly show paste with workflows. Okay, because I want to show you the filtering and how to do it. Okay. So under filtering, let me just back up a moment here. Let me just delete. So when you do search for orders, you're going to get this more. When you get the more, you're going to go and scroll down to filtered. Okay, so you get this filtered, and then this pop-up comes up, add a new constraint, and then here, what you want to do is you want to scroll down to the bottom to advanced, and then here, I'm actually going to be scrolling down, so filtering RG. So filtering RG is the name of my page. I've got a custom state, which I'll get to in a moment, which is filtering RG. So filtering RG right here. And then it automatically, so I only have one custom state on this page, and it's called RG filter. And then basically you get these choices. And for this one, I'm actually going to go back to my design at this point and walk through it. So filtering RGs, RG filter contains this orders, so it contains, and then this order. So I've got a bunch of choices here. I want to do this orders because that's what I'm doing the filtering on, this orders. Color, okay, so color was one of the database choices. Or, so I got choices here, so I want to do or. I'm going to do a look at the repeating groups filter, and it can, if it contains this order's form. So I've got color, I've got form, and now I'm going to do another or. The filter repeating group contains this order's order status, so that's my third filter criteria. Or I go and I looked at the repeating group if it contains this order's payment status. So basically having these ors in here allows me to go and look at all of the different filter values within orders and compare that against what's in the repeating group, sorry, not the repeating group, into the custom state filtering RG's RG filter, okay? And then that'll allow me to go and select, based on what I've chosen here for these checkboxes, what I want to show in the repeating group. Okay, so this is a critical part of the design for this to work. You want to go, again, advanced, and then go through filtering RG. Your page may be different. You may call it a different custom state, and then you basically walk through contains and then the various different filtering fields that you have from the database. Again, I'm just going through and choosing colors, filter, forms, order name, order status, payment status. Actually, not order name because that's the name that I have of the order. Okay, so that's how you do it, adding the filter. I have a simple text field in here. Let me just go over to the text editor because it's a little easier to see. Order name, status, color, form, and payment status. And then these in blue are the dynamic values. You can see here, they're current sales orders. So basically, if I go through here and I'll just do test. So you'll see that I get this search and then current sales order, and I'm just going to say color. Okay, so you'll see when you click on this box, you get the insert dynamic data, and that's where I chose current sales color. Just delete that because I don't need it. Sometimes things are easier when I go into the text editor, like that. Okay, so that's the repeating group. Let me go over to the custom state. So all I did here was I just clicked anywhere on the page, not on any of these elements, but just on the page. So filtering RG, so that's the name of my page here for filtering repeating group 2. And then I click on the inspector, the element inspector here, this little I, and then custom state. So I've got this custom state RG filter. It's of type text, and it's a list. And the reason why it's a list is because I'm adding all of the different filters into this custom state so that I can do my filtering comparison. So just to quickly show you, custom state test, type text, and then the state is a list. Click on that. And there you go. So test, text, and then a list. And that's how you set up this, this custom state. Again, let me just kind of quickly just go through. So RG status, or RG filter rather. And come back over here when we get to filter. So filtering RG2's RG filter. So this is the custom state. It's going to have a list of text, which is going to collect, and I'll get to this in a moment in the workflows, that custom state is going to collect all the different values when I check these checkboxes or the drop-down or this toggle here. And now let's go over just quickly here. So for this one here, I just have a text field that has the filtering RG2's RG filter. So this is basically going to show all the different values as I select these choices here. This is kind of a diagnostic. Your app, you probably don't want to have this. I just wanted to show it in here for this demo that you can see the values changing dynamically as these buttons or the drop down is selected. Okay, now let's get over to the workflow. So there's quite a few workflows. I'm going to go through, let's go through just one by one here. So on this first one, reset toggle is click. So that's this button here, or rather text field. So got the workflow here. So what I want to do here is set the state. So filtering RG's filter, minus item not paid, minus item paid. Okay, now what are we doing here? Basically, what we have going on here is on this, let me go back to the design, on this filter here for the toggle switch. When I select it, I need to go, let me go back here. I don't necessarily know what the state of it is within the database, because I'm not keeping track of it in the database. I'm keeping track of it in this repeating group. So what I'm doing is whenever the value changes, I'm just clearing out the value. And so, for instance, if it was selected as paid, what I want to do here is basically just remove that from the repeating group. If the value is not paid, I want to remove it from the repeating group not the repeating group, the custom state RG filter. So I want to remove those values, whatever it may be, from that, from the filter, the custom state filter. And then what I want to do is I want to do a reset group toggle. Now, one thing I should also say here is that when I come over here, scroll up. Okay. So what I just did here was when I clicked on that and I did reveal in elements tree to see where it was. So you could see that this toggle is actually within a group. And the reason why I put it in a group is because when I click on this text field, I want to not only remove whatever value was in the custom state for this filter, I also want to reset the value of the toggle back to its default value. So that's why I have a reset group toggle here. Okay, and I can't reset the element directly. I can't reset the toggle paid status directly. I have to reset it at the group level. That's why I have to put a group in. So one thing just to show you quickly to put this in a group, if I double click on my my mouse pad here, or right click on if you're using a PC, I'll get this window that pops up, and you want to do group elements in a group, and that'll put this element within a group, and that's what I did here for getting group toggle. Okay, so that'll basically reset that toggle switch. And then the next one here, actually these next few ones, and I've color coded them. So these are the check boxes. So this one is for the green checkbox, and basically I have this only when. So let me just kind of go over here and show you quickly. Okay, so when an input value is changed, so that's what you want to choose, input value is changed, okay, and then the checkbox. But I don't want this because I've already done it here, and so checkbox green, and then when this checkbox is checked, so I need to have this conditional in there because I also have it when it isn't checked. So when it's checked, then I want to go and set state. Let me walk through this first. So set state filtering RG2. So that's the name of the element. That's the page. And then RG filter is the custom state. I've only got one custom state in there. And then the value. So what I need to do here is, since it's a list, filtering RG filter plus item green. So basically, I'm taking that bucket, the custom state, that list of text, and I'm adding the green to it. So I have to type that in manually. And again, it's case sensitive, and spellings, you have to make sure you spell it correctly. So I'm adding that value to this custom state. So right here, to choose it, it's element actions, set state, filtering RG2, RG filter, and then the rest of it. I'm going to delete that. And that's how you do it. So RG filter and then plus. So plus item is down at the bottom here. And then you type in green. Now this one here is when the checkbox isn't checked. So when it's not checked, again, custom state, I'm picking it here. The value is going to be that custom state, that list of text, and then minus green. So I'm adding green to that custom state, and I'm removing it here. And then similarly, so I've got checkbox order status 1, same idea. I'm just going through, it's the same custom state, order status 1, plus item, order status 1, and then minus order status 1 when it isn't checked. Order status 2, same thing, going through the same custom state, order status 2, minus order status 2 when it isn't checked, When it's checked, this is for order status 3, order status 3. So one of the nice things with Bubble is I can go and copy. So there's a lot of these that are very similar. So I can go and copy and paste these. So I just select on it, right click on your PC or double click on your mouse pad for your Mac, copy, come over here, right click, paste, and there it is. So these two are identical, and then you can go and change it. So that's one of the nice things you can do in Bubble for these different workflows is you can copy and paste them. Let me continue through. So I did green up here, and here's a red one. So when this checkbox is checked, I'm just going again. It's the same custom state, plus red, minus red. For the dropdown, I don't need any criteria for it because it's just going to pick whatever value. So again, minus item. So this one's a little bit different in the sense that, again, I don't know what is in the custom state. So I'm going to remove, I need to remove both circle and minus item square. And you can see here I get this more. And then again, if there was other values in there, minus state, and then I would go and type in test like that. Do undo. So I need to go and I need to remove all the values. So if I had 5 different values in my dropdown, I need to remove all 5 of those. And then what I need to do here, so filtering group plus the dropdown's value, I want to add that into it. Only when this dropdown's value is not empty. And the reason why you need to put this in, it's important, is, okay, when I come over here, so this input should not be empty. I don't have this checked. So what's going to happen, I'm just going to come over here. I need to do a refresh. Okay, choose an option. So you see there's this, it's empty up here. And if I choose square, pick squares, and if I go back here, this is actually, it doesn't say choose an item anymore, it's blank. If I leave it like that, and my workflow, if I don't have this drop-down value is not empty, it's actually going to add an empty value to this custom state. And I don't want that because that's going to mess up the filtering afterwards. So I need to put in this drop-down's value is not empty. Okay, so it'll be one of those 2 values that I have in there, square and circle. So just make sure when you're doing this, if you're using a drop-down in your app, make sure that you have this only when this drop-down value is not empty, when you're adding values into this custom state. So that's that drop-down. So for the toggle, let's see. So I've got when it's checked, I go and I add paid. And then I also go and I remove. Again, I don't know exactly what's in the what the value is within the custom state. So I want to go and make sure if I'm adding paid, I want to make sure that not paid is not in there as well, or else I'm going to have, it's going to mess up the filtering. It's going to show paid and not paid, and when the reason for using this toggle here is it's either you're either choosing paid or not paid. So for this I need to remove not paid if I'm adding paid, and then when it's not checked, I'm going to add not paid and I'm going to remove paid. So I hope that made some sense. It is kind of a little bit weird using the toggle for doing the filter. It's got some other peculiarities, like I do have to have this workflow in here to go and clear the state so that it removes both not paid and paid from the database, not the database, from the custom state. That is basically the design. And let me just kind of go back here and show you. So I've got one of each. So right now I can't go and choose any of these other ones in green. So I don't have any in the database that has order status 1 in green. But let me just go over here in the database and I'll go and order status 1 right right here. So order status 1. And the color, I'm just going to manually type in green. And I also need to go over here. So this is important when you're developing your app and you're saving all these different values, whatever they may be. You need to make sure that within filters here, and I'm actually going to leave it blank for a second. So I've got color. It's empty, so nothing is shown up. It's in the database though. So you can see right here, I added green. It's very important that you add green here as well. So make sure in your workflow you have this, this list of text filters or whatever you might want to call it. Make sure that you add these values in here as well. I'm going to save it, come over here, and there it is. Okay, so just something to be aware of. So square, so I don't have any that are square. I guess I don't have any that are circle, so I just leave that blank. And then paid and not paid, so I guess I don't have any with those criteria as well. I'm going to clear that. So that is choosing one. I'm going to go and quickly do any combination. So I can do this one, so not paid, or rather paid. So I've got one that's paid, paid. So this is basically it's kind of a wide open filter. It's going to show most everything that's in the database. Or I can just, let's see, not paid. Let me reset that. And I finally got order status. So right now I'm going to show everything in the database that has order status 1 on here. And I do have this one here. I'm not sure why it's got this. I should go clean it up in the database. But in any event, I think this gives you a good idea of how this filtering works. You have some different options here. I know this was a rather long video. If you've stayed to the end, I appreciate, and I hope that you've learned something and this was a helpful video for you. If you do like it, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate those. I also have some upcoming videos, so if you subscribe to my channel, you'll get notified by YouTube of those. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, thank you for staying to the end.